Steve, who's the person that you would say really flopped and let you down? Who was the person that surprised you?
I mean, I've got to say, it's got to be Julio Cesar.
Okay.
Came with massive potential from Inter Milan, and we got him for, well, literally nothing. And, you know, in the Premier League, we needed a goalkeeper. Cesar comes in, you think, oh, brilliant goalkeeper, lots of experience. And he was terrible. Absolutely horrendous.
What? Why? What was it about his performances that was so bad?
I think, you know, we had the consistency of Paddy Kenny in front of him, and then obviously we had Rob Green after. And he never really, I think there was a lot of signings that were made that year, but then he was a leader, and he was, you know, he comes and he's so sure and he's so confident, and he just couldn't cut the mustard in the league, in the Premier League. He couldn't do it.
Do you think it seemed to me like it was too physical for him? I know he's a goalkeeper, but he couldn't handle that. He couldn't handle balls coming into the box. It looked like he shrunk, Steve, didn't he? He didn't look imposing.
I feel like he couldn't handle the pace of the game either.
No.
I mean, in Italy, don't get me wrong, he had a brilliant defence in front of him, and obviously we weren't like the greatest team in the world. I think he wasn't expecting as much to come at him as he did. I think that was mainly the main issue with him.
And there was a lot of money you was flying around at that time, wasn't there? Was it Christopher Samba? Singwa?
Samba, what an absolute... And Singwa, what a mess.
See, you could have had...
Oh, yeah, Singwa, I forgot about him.
You could pick about 11 players that season that came in.
It was shocking.
Awful.
And who was the overachiever? Who was the person that you had very low expectations for, but turned out to absolutely rip it up?
It's got to be Tarab, doesn't it? I mean, he came to us from Tottenham, didn't he, on loan, and he was a bit of a troublemaker, wasn't he? And there was a lot of issues going around him. He didn't want to play. Had a bit of an attitude about him, but my word, what a player. What a player.
I watched him a few times in the Championship under Neil Warnock.
Cheers for the call, Steve.
And Neil Warnock knew how to manage him. You know, when he knew that he was a maverick player. Yeah. And you had good senior pros there like Sean Derry, you know, who would give him a bit of a rollicking. And apparently he'd say to Sean Derry, no, calm down, we don't want to lose him. Not lose him going, but we need him mentally right. So just be careful of how many rollickings that you're giving him if you ain't tracking back, because in the next 30 seconds he'll do 4 foot overs, beat 3 people and smash one in the top corner. So we've got to indulge him. And he was a player that was far too good for the Championship, but probably not the right attitude for like Premier League. And he underachieved that level, didn't he, I think? Yeah.
He did. Let's go to Abdul now, the Arsenal supporter. Good evening, Abdul.
Hey lads, how you doing?
Hello, Abdul.
Very good, mate. What do you want to talk about?
Good. First thing, a couple of things. First one is Thierry Henry, obviously. With him signing, at the time I was about 6 years old, and with my family, including my parents, I'll just give you a quick background. There's 4, including my parents, there's 9 of us. So 4 people support United, 4 people, that's Manchester United, 4 people support Liverpool, and then I'm the only Arsenal fan. And it was Thierry Henry and Arsene Wenger that made me fall in love with Arsenal when I was young. I just remember that goal where Thierry Henry came to him, flicked it up and just turned and smashed it straight past Barthez. I was just like, wow. And then ever since then, I think playing through FIFA and stuff like that, just fell in love with it. So yeah, I'd say obviously greatest Premier League player of all time, without a doubt. Greatest striker in the Premier League after Alan Shearer, I'd say, of all time. And the second thing I was going to say, flops. Arsenal's had quite a few where you think, you know, they're going to be great, and then they just turn out to be shockers. And then, you know, to be fair to them, some of them have gone and left Arsenal, and then they've just, like, been amazing.
Most of them.
Yeah, like, you've got the guy at Bayern Munich right now.
Gnabry. Serge Gnabry.
Yeah, Serge Gnabry. And then you've had the likes, someone who I thought was going to be a flop when we signed him, and he turned out to be amazing, was Koscielny. And then Sanchez, you know, he left us at a peak, and then he went to United, and then he became a flop. So it's a bit of hit and miss with Arsenal.
There's been a few, Abdul. Cheers for the call, pal. Yeah, we could do a whole show on Arsenal flops. To be fair, I'll go back to Varane, because as I mentioned, I was such a big fan of his. A great, arguably at the time, one of the top 3 midfielders in world football, comfortably for me. And I just can't believe how someone so good could struggle to adapt so much. And I remember reading Roy Keane's book, and he spoke about how, you know, he was kind of coming for his position, and Keane had to up his game and make it clear, look, you ain't going to get that slot. We're not going to rearrange this team around you. I'm the main man here. And Varane just couldn't seem to rise to that challenge. And it was such a shame to see him just kind of leave the Premier League.
I think
know Chelsea
as well,
leave a whimper.
Yeah, I think there was, with Varane, maybe again the pace and the power of the Premier didn't suit, because he liked to stroll through games, and then he was the playmaker, wasn't he? He was the one who had the brilliant passing range, wanted to be the main man. And unfortunately, when you go to Manchester United, unless you're Eric Cantona or Ronaldo, maybe a little bit, you're not really the main man. It's about all the players being on the same level, being that top level, and you have to work off the ball as hard as what you work on the ball, and that wasn't really Varane's strength, was it? He was a bit of a liability when they weren't in possession, so that's probably. And as you said, Roy Keane probably give him a few verbal little volleys as well.
And you can rise.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can't handle, you've got to be a certain sort of character and have a certain sort of mental strength to play at that level for the big clubs.
And I remember when Salah came back to the Premier League with Liverpool, and it was a £30 million transfer. I remember thinking, that's a lot of money. That is. That's quite a bit of money for someone that has had a decent time in Italy. Didn't really, do well at Chelsea, but albeit he was relatively young then. But I thought, nah. And
I think most people, to be honest, you would say that the jury's out, wouldn't you? Because he hadn't cut it in the Premier League before. You said he was obviously younger. I think it was under Mourinho, who maybe, again, man management. He tests you, doesn't he? And you've got to handle players properly. So going to Italy, probably grew up physically and mentally, and he was probably the right age to come back, and had exactly the right manager in Jurgen Klopp.
A couple of texts coming in there. You guys couldn't be more wrong about Kane with Millwall fans. We loved him. In a half season, he won our Young Player of the Year. You knew he'd go on to have a good Prem career. Granted, never saw him going to this current level. Now,
well, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, and I think a lot of coaches at the time, one of the top three strikers in world football. Yeah, which I think is fair comment.
Yeah.
Got another text here. Who else we got here? Just get rid of that. My name is John from Shoreham. Hi, John. And I think Brighton, if they can sign a top striker with the money we have from the Ben White deal, we will finish in the top half of the table. You see that?
Then obviously Ben White's gone. I know Webster's just signed a new contract, so they probably need like a centre-half as well, just for numbers. I agree. Last season, if you looked at their expected goals, it was shocking.
Yeah.
I think Danny Welbeck scored a few goals toward the end of the season. Mopai,
here and
he's
there.
still, a little bit. Aaron Connolly misses too many chances. So on that side of it, if they do go and spend the money. Brighton, there's a brilliant stat with Brighton that they have the most players in their first team squad and matchday squad and from the academies than any other team in the Premier League. It's nearly, it's at 29 point whatever percent, nearly at 30%, where they're all homegrown. And obviously then, like Ben White, then you can go on to go further up sort of the pyramid. So that's a brilliant ground. If you're a young player, that's a fantastic club to go to. It's going to give you your chances. Keep your calls and texts coming in. Let us know who was the player that absolutely bombed when you thought they were going to do well, and to flip it, who was the player that actually thought, they're going to do well and actually ended up not being so good. Give us a call, 08717 223344.
The Sports Bar with Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy. Monday to Thursday night from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.